You know, I had every intention of doing a subtle summery makeup look, and then the Halloween just jumped out. What's up, guys? It's V Renee. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. It is the end of August. That is crazy. This month went by so fast because I was really busy. If you saw my Q3 goal video or read that blog, you know that I had a lot to do this month. I had the final line edits for my second novel, Accidental Evils. I got the cover for Accidental Evils. I did all the formatting and the copyright type of stuff for Accidental Evils. I was also writing the second draft of my magical realism novel, Blood from a Stone. And on top of that, I realized I had to figure out what the hell I was gonna do for NaNoWriMo, because that sneaks up on us quicker and quicker every year, and after doing it for the first time last year, I said I would never do it again. But let's be real, I'm a sucker for self-torture, so we're definitely doing it again. But I had a problem. I had no project to work on. Last year, I needed to write the rough draft of my final novel in the Thistlewolf trilogy, Something Wicked, and that was my Nano project because I had to get that done, but I'm kind of at a standstill in November with all my projects I'm working on. So I needed to come up with an idea, and then I realized I never did a vlog or video ever on my brainstorming process. So without further ado, I'm gonna talk to you guys about how I brainstorm new ideas. So hopefully I can help you out, and hopefully I'll remember to use these tips when I'm scrambling in September, October to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do for NaNoWriMo. So the first thing is the idea seed. If you want to start a new project, if you want to work on something, you have to have an idea. And everyone struggles to understand and find out where their ideas come from. And I did for a long time, and these are some tried and true ways that I've found to get my creative juices flowing, to fill up my creative well and come up with an idea. And the first one is reading a lot of fiction. The other one that I would say in the same kind of realm is watching scripted TV or movies, especially in your similar genre. So if I'm stuck, I'll watch and read some magical movies and TV and books and horror and all that good stuff. I find that ideas come best, number one, when your creative well is filled up, so definitely, you know, taking in so you can put out. Grow up. The other thing that helps a lot is being bored. So when I'm falling asleep at night, I get a lot of weird thoughts and feelings. Sometimes I get dreams. And then especially when I'm bored, and it has to do with like being in a car. So in 2018, I took a road trip from Florida to Iowa to see my sister, and my mom drove the whole way. So I had about 2 straight days in a car to just think, and that's where Blood from a Stone came from. That's where a middle grade series that I want to write in the near future came from, that I haven't really talked about a lot. And then this last month in July, I went on a road trip from Long Island to upstate New York, and I got a lot of cool ideas for a new thriller, a new duology, a lot of things. Like that is where my brain thrives, is writing in a car. It also comes when I'm waiting in the doctor's office for an appointment, when I'm waiting to get my oil changed. I tend to use those opportunities not to like scroll on social media, because the real reason is that my phone battery is shit, and by the time I get to where I'm going, my phone is usually almost dead, or it dies while I'm there, so I don't have much to do but to think. But I'll tell you, it really helps me come up with some ideas that I would never think of if my attention was constantly occupied. A testament to that is how much brainstorming I did on Blood from a Stone while I was on vacation in upstate New York. We were staying in the Adirondacks. We had no cell service. So when I was outside of the house, when I had Wi-Fi, there was nothing to do but think. And I came up with a lot of loose ends tied up. I came up with a lot of character things for Blood from a Stone, and being bored works. It really does. My phone heard me talking about its battery being shit and decided to die at 50%. So we're here. You notice that happens in like every single one of my videos. Maybe someone should upgrade their phone from an iPhone 6S, but I don't feel like it. The next big thing for me is character. If you know me or read anything that I've done, I write in first person past tense. So in order for me to even begin to formulate a story, I gotta know who I'm talking through. I don't have to have the whole character plotted out, but I definitely need to know like something about them. And for me, it's always like one specific character thing, style thing, physical thing, talking thing that I find in my character. So like in the Thistlewolf trilogy, Fina Kameho, the first thing that I saw of her, like way back when I first started doing that story when I was a teenager, was she had really curly dark hair and she had a raspy voice like she breathed in smoke. If you've read Civil Blood, you know Fina is a pyrokinetic witch, and so she's got a raspy voice because she's always breathing in smoke because she makes fire with her fucking mind. With Blood from a Stone, the protagonist Thea Riley, the first thing that came to mind was that she wears old boots and ripped jeans. Why does she wear ripped jeans? Because she's poor, so she tries to make it look punk rock instead of poor white trash. Well, why is she poor? And then it expanded from there, and I got to know Thea a lot just from knowing that she wears ripped jeans and old shoes. But it's not always useful or like relevant to the story. Like River Matthews, he likes honey buns. Why does he like honey buns? Because he does. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with the story. He just likes honey buns. Like, that is such a specific detail about him that I know means nothing. Once I get like a little tidbit of who they are, then I can move past like, okay, this is this person, like based on this we build a personality. And then who are they interacting with? And then what kind of conflict comes from their interactions with other people? And then what is their main goal? It just all stems for me from whoever I'm telling the story through. And if you don't write in first person, I know that might not be very applicable to you, or if you write from a lot of multiple points of view, but I also wrote the Thistle Wolf trilogy from multiple points of view, and it still helped me to know both sides of the story through both River and Fina. So if you're gonna write in first person at all, my first thing in brainstorming is just figure out who is talking. Just whatever little things you can gather in your brain about the person who is telling your story, who you're telling your story through, boom. So many things open up for me when I do that. The next thing for me is setting. I tend to set my stories in places I have been or places I have lived. Originally, the Thistle Wolf trilogy was set in California because of the song Sweater Weather by The Neighborhood. More on how music influences me way too much later. But then I realized I've never been to California. If I'm honest, that really changed because one day I was at work and I looked out the window, it was raining, it was like 2 summers ago, and there was steam coming off of the AC unit outside because it was so hot and the rain was cold that it was like causing steam off the AC unit, and that got my brain like rolling with all these weird Florida-isms that like I'm pretty sure is not anywhere else but like in the South, like these weird things about the South, and especially like the rural South where I grew up in Florida. And then Thistle Wolf became set in rural Florida because I had so much to pull from being from there, where I grew up, where I've lived my whole life, that I knew I could tell a much richer story. And some of the favorite parts of people that have told me, they like, oh, I love the way you talked about the Florida sunset. I love the way you talked about how it feels outside. It's like I couldn't really do that with California. I'd never been there, definitely hadn't lived there, didn't know much about what it was really like to be there. So I tend to pull from places I've been or that I've lived. So like for example, last year I went to New Orleans and then I went on a road trip a couple months after that, and I started brainstorming Blood from a Stone, which was originally set in New Orleans. I moved it to Florida again because I have more experience with being in Florida than I do in Louisiana, and I set it in St. Augustine because St. Augustine and New Orleans have a very similar vibe, but also because I go to St. Augustine every year and now I can do it for you know, research purposes, tax purposes, you know, instead of just like going for fun. Now it's like part of my job. I have to go. I don't have a choice. And again, when I went to New York last month and we drove, we passed a place called Little Neck Bay, and it was kind of like a dark and stormy day. It was like a stormy kind of day when we were driving, and I got such intense I know what you did last summer vibes just from this place we saw off the bridge. Like we were driving on the bridge, it was over there. I grabbed my notebook, I just started scribbling stuff. Like I just got like a light bulb just from seeing a place. So definitely pay attention to your surroundings. The best thing you can do as an author, especially for brainstorming ideas, is to people watch and place watch. Go places that you don't normally go, see things you don't normally see, and pull from your experiences at the same time so that you can really get an authentic idea of where your story might be set. Speaking of notebooks, my next piece of advice is brain dump. The most important thing you can do when you're trying to brainstorm a new story idea is to keep a place where you write everything down that you think, that you feel, that you hear, that you see somewhere. In a notebook, in your notes app, in the Google Docs, on a napkin. Text yourself every random thought that you have, keep it. And if you saw my desk tour last week or the week before that, you know I keep every single notebook from like the last 5 years. They are in an ottoman under my desk because I know that even if I don't use those brain dump ideas now, these aren't the only books I'm gonna be writing. I'm gonna write a book later. I found the hinge on which Something Wicked, the finale of my trilogy, the hinge on which it sits was in a notebook from 2015. So keep that shit. That goes for Google Docs and Microsoft Word and your jump drives too, okay? I have folders within every book folder on Google Docs. It's labeled like trash or cringe. I have like huge documents that just say like, this is cringy. And one of them says like, this is cringy, you should kill yourself, because it's like terrible. But there's little seedlings in there that can come in handy. I originally wrote the ending of the Thistlewolf trilogy in a much more light tone. The second book wasn't what it was, and then it was a lot lighter in the third book. So I use a lot of those character interactions and a lot of that plot stuff for Blood from a Stone, because Blood from a Stone is a lot lighter than Something Wicked, and it fits better. So just keep your old stuff, keep those old ideas. You never, ever know when you might need it for something else. I promise you. The next thing I want to talk about is plot. Plot eludes me, as you can probably tell from everything I've mentioned. I don't tend to start with a plot. I am a newly recognized pantser. I have thought I was a type A plotter my entire life, and I'm finding out that I am not. I'm okay, I'm accepting it, I have a support group, but it is just my way, with everything except Thistlewolf, I'm finding, that I have to just write it and see what happens. Plotting it ahead of time, doing really detailed outlines is not helping me. I have to get to know these people and what they're going through as I write. And I'm accepting that, and that's just how it is. Each draft, the plot becomes clearer, and, you know, I can't help you with brainstorming plot, because honestly, don't know where mine come from at all. My next little step in the brainstorming process is gonna be a controversial one, and it is Pinterest. With Blood from a Stone, I'm still very much in the exploration stage of that. I'm just finishing up draft 2. And Pinterest saves me from writer's block all the time. I have a Blood from a Stone duology board, and then I have sections within the boards for each of my 5 main girls. And if I don't really know what to go to, where they need to go next, what they would do next, I just kind of go look at their boards and I'm like, oh yeah, that's her personality, that's how she looks, that's how she whatever. I have character quirks on there, I have their powers, I have like things that they would say, I have their fashion, all that kind of stuff. Pinterest can also be a time suck. We've all fallen down a rabbit hole, and then we wake up and it's 3 hours later and we've made aesthetics for a 10-book series we haven't even thought of yet. But if you use it correctly and you stay on task, it can really help pull you out of a writer's block, at least for me. And finally, and most importantly, probably for me, is music. It is no secret that I am super influenced by music. I know a lot of people are, but it just hits me different. For some reason, I have talked at length, I've written blogs about the music behind Civil Blood, as well as Accidental Evils. I will do one on Something Wicked. I've talked about the theme songs for Blood from a Stone. Music, I spend so much time curating playlists for my different works in progress, my different books. I have different songs to help me with like character personalities, with specific scenes, with tone, with symbolism, with different even ideas, like specific ideas for the story. So I, analyze every song I hear and I try to think of how it can fit into my new idea, but songs that almost always end up in one playlist or another, like always, are 80s ballads, anything by the band She Wants Revenge, anything by the band Muse, random 90s one-hit wonders, and then I will definitely throw in like a creepy cover of a really good pop song. Hungry Like the Wolf, Baby One More Time. Who else has a really good cover? I Want You to Want Me is also a good one, but like in a creepy way, because like the lyrics are so, When Doves Cry. Like I like creepy versions of classic pop songs that have like minor chords and deeper meanings in their lyrics. Of course, sometimes it's the other way around, and while I might be plugging songs in based on the idea I already have, sometimes the songs give me an entire book idea. For Civil Blood, that was Possum Kingdom by the Toadies. For Accidental Evils, it was Barton Hollow by the Civil Wars. For Something Wicked, it was 27 Hours by Banks. And for Blood from a Stone, it was Curious by Haley Kiyoko. And that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this was helpful. I always like hearing about how people brainstorm their ideas and how they kind of dig through all the crap in our brains and find some nuggets of gold in there. So I wanted to tell you guys, usually my process, and I hope that this helps you guys kind of jog your memories a little bit. I hope that it gets you motivated to think of something for NaNoWriMo, because that shit is upon us. In the meantime, I make new videos every single Wednesday, and I'll see you next Wednesday for the first video of September. Bye.